Hi, I'm Ashley Lackinger, and this is LadyBoss, a web series where I interview women in, from, and around Chicago, making a difference in their community, our city, and the world. And today's episode is an extra special election episode that we've been calling LadyBoss Nation. Today, we're going to be talking to Alex and Aviva, the CEO and COO of Ballot, a website that's aiming to change how you vote by providing more information on stances that are important to you from the local level all the way to the presidential level. Today, we're going to be talking with Alex and Aviva about what it's like to own their own business, where they got the inspiration for Ballot, what it's like to be women in tech and politics, and how they accomplished everything without having a degree in business. And here we are at the University of Chicago Institute of Politics. Hi. Oh, so nice to meet you. Alex, Aviva, so nice to meet you. Well, one, I just want to say how grateful I am to be here to be able to talk to you today. And I have so many questions about Ballot. So if it's okay with you guys, I would love to just jump in and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go up to the conference room.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to let you lead because this is your building. I'm honestly just so thrilled to talk with you today because we haven't spoken to any lady bosses yet where their primary function of business is done through tech. Okay, so you were saying that the creator of Hamilton was in this building, like Lin-Manuel Miranda was in this building?
He was like literally right here.
You're walking in his steps.
Oh my god! So what was he here for?
He was here for David Axelrod's podcast, The Axe Files.
Oh,
We're
okay.
taking an episode.
I'll have to check it out. And this building is really cool.
Yeah.
It has so many interesting artifacts just like peppered around on the wall.
Like that letter from the actual Hamilton.
And the real Hamilton, though.
Hamilton.
There's just a lot of really, really cool information all around this building. And I could probably talk about it all day. But I know that downstairs, I told you guys, I just wanted to jump right into it. So I really do. And I hope that that's okay with you. My first question is kind of around this building. So the Institute of Politics at University of Chicago, I know that you both went to school here, but is this where you work for Ballot, or like how does this building intersect with Ballot?
So the Institute of Politics was our first partner.
Okay.
So they gave us our first funding. They continue to give us a lot of advice and connect us to people who can help us make the site better.
Okay, great. So it's not necessarily that you ran Ballot out of here. It was almost more like you said that they were your first partner and they helped to kind of serve as the catalyst to help get you out there?
Exactly.
Okay. So then, I'm going to jump ahead of myself because I have so many questions. So then to go back to the beginning, did you guys always want to own a business? Did you always want to be entrepreneurs? I know that you didn't meet until you were in college, but, kind of you as children, is this something that you always wanted to be doing?
Yes.
Like such a hesitant yet confident yes.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. And Aviva?
I loved entrepreneurship. I was telling Alex that I started a t-shirt business where I would iron on decals for like Titanic or the Spice Girls. But I also wanted something sustainable, so
the t-shirt business wasn't.
Yeah, you know what? Third graders, they just don't have that much income. So I actually wasn't expecting this when I first started talking to Alex.
Okay.
I just started working.
So then I guess, Alex, you seemed really confident in, yes, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Did you know what kind of business that you wanted to do, or only that you wanted to work for yourself?
Only that I wanted to work for myself, that I wanted to build something that made a difference.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have some creative control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And create a culture that was sort of like my own.
So I guess that kind of leads me to my next question with Ballot. I know that you guys went to University of Chicago together, but can you kind of walk me through the beginning of Ballot Ready? And we don't have to take it to where it is today, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding what that journey has been for you.
Yeah. So I started making the first version of the site myself because I was thinking about my experience in the 2012 election where I was psyched to vote for president.
Yeah.
But then when I got to the voting booth, my ballot was much longer than just the president and the vice president. And I left with this feeling of kind of like, okay, I didn't really perform my civic duty as I should have. I kind of felt guilty. So I was preparing for the midterm 2014 elections with this site that I was making.
Okay, that's Ballot Ready, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very basic version
that
I didn't think anyone else would use.
Okay.
And Aviva was the first person I called.
Okay.
Because a couple months before that, she had called me and she was like, hey, I'm running for local office. Will you vote for me? And I was like, yes. But I did not even know there was an election.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point.
Yeah. And then I actually couldn't vote for her. This is like
she
why?
Didn't vote for me. We don't know why. Luckily, I still won. So
Congratulations.
So we just started working on it. It was like we were both doing other things at the time.
Okay.
And we would like hang out like once a week and like talk about it. And then we went swimming together and like we stopped actually swimming. We started doing kickboards.
So that you could talk.
So we could talk. Yeah. We were just so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we met our third co-founder, Sebastian.
Okay.
He is just like obsessed with local politics.
Okay.
And we all came together. And we just were like hanging out and talking about it all the time. And then kind of the first thing that like made us think this was going to be real was when the Institute of Politics partnered with us.
Okay, and did they come to you because they had heard about Ballot Ready, or you guys went to them?
We emailed them that we were just waiting, and we said maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, and then when they said yes, we were excited about this, we want to help you out, we were like, oh, this could be a real thing.
Yeah, so I guess that actually lines up perfectly with something that I always like to ask is, when did this feel real to you? And then what did that even feel like? You know, was it scary? Were you excited? So the Institute of Politics gets back to you and they're like, yes, we want to help you, whether that means funding or getting you in touch with people. Yeah. Was that exciting? Was it scary? Because that's such, you know, up until this time it had been kind of just an idea for the most part. So what was that whole process like?
I thought going into that, I was like, Aviva, they're never going to partner with us. They're not going to do it. And she's like, even now, she's always like, no, yeah, they're going to like what we're doing. So she's more like optimistic, which is good.
But still at the time, it just felt like there wasn't one moment where we said, now we have a business.
Okay.
You know, they partnered with us and we're like, great. And we started making paper voter guides for the Chicago mayoral election. And we were handing them out and seeing what people liked, what people didn't. But even at the time, it still felt new and exciting. And I wasn't really thinking, oh, this is going to be huge.
Okay. So then at that point, if you guys don't mind me asking, were you making money on it at that time? Or was that not even the goal? At that point, was it just kind of like, let's get as much information as we can into the hands of voters and kind of just one foot in front of the other?
It was definitely like, let's make this as useful as possible for voters. And we were first thinking about what information is most useful to people. But really, from the beginning, we were also thinking, like, how are we going to make this sustainable? So I would say at that point, when we were doing the paper voter guides, we were thinking about how useful can we make this site? And then it was just like maybe a month or two after that that we started talking about, like, let's make this sustainable. Let's think about revenue models.
Okay. I know part of your goal for Ballot Ready this year is to get 1 million voters. Is it registered on Ballot Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, to me, that's a huge goal. Like, that's biting off quite a bit. How have you helped to kind of chip away at that goal?
Well, we had 120,000 people use the site during the primaries.
Okay, and that was, how many months ago was the primaries?
So it was throughout the spring. So we were here in March for the Illinois primary, and then we did a sort of a primary each month. So Kentucky, Colorado, Maryland.
Oh, okay, so this is even beyond just Illinois at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And since then, we set 1 million because it's ambitious, but we think we can get there. We're going to be in 25 states.
Oh my gosh.
We think, 1 million, we could double it. This is a huge election. This is a huge opportunity.
Definitely like the optimist.
Yeah.
She's like 3 million.
That's what we said. We want the site to be ready for as many, to handle as many voters as possible.
So I went on the site and I registered and I put in my zip code. So for those of you who haven't checked out the website yet, we can talk directly to them. It's okay. So for those of you that haven't checked out the website yet, when you go, you fill out your information and you put in your zip code, and then it pulls up who is on your ballot in your zip code. And for right now, at least for me, it was the presidential nominations, Senate, and Congress. But you were saying...
Probably this goes live. It will be every candidate on your ballot.
Okay.
So we should just maybe say that.
Okay, yeah. So then... I guess, so by the time you guys would check that out, it would be every candidate. And then you can go through and click on the stances. So when you click through, you'll see that there is a ton of information about all of the different stances that the different candidates at different levels support, so that you can see who matches up with your ideals, and that way you can vote for the people that will make a difference in the things that are important to you. So when I was going through that and I saw how much information it was, like, how do you, like, where do you even get that?
So we're getting it from places like candidate websites, news articles, boards of elections.
And are you guys like going on the websites and just pulling the information?
Not us. It's basically like structured crowdsourcing.
Okay.
So, it's sort of like Wikipedia, where there are people all over entering information, but it's not in that. It's not like one person does one profile.
Okay.
We create very, very specific tasks, like go to this website and tell us where the candidate went to college. And we have multiple people do each of those tasks.
Okay.
And if they all match up with the same answer, then it's good to go on the site.
So when you say multiple people, is that the people on your team? Or even extends past that?
Yeah. Across the internet.
So how do you, like, if someone wanted to get involved in that and help you guys collect information, how do they do that?
So we outsource the recruiting for that.
Okay.
But we do have ways to get involved in research. We have to make a lot of phone calls to boards of elections. We have to send a lot of faxes. It's like
very old school.
Very old school. Sometimes we have to go there. It's crazy. That we always need help with. So.
Okay.
The fascinating thing is you would think that the state of Illinois, for example, has a list of all the candidates running, but they don't. It's each county by county in there.
So you'd have to go through and individually search for the people that will be on your ballot.
We have to call all these different counties and say, hey, who's on the ballot for these very local districts like Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, Mosquito Abatement District, School Board.
I didn't even know that districts like that existed, and I've lived in Illinois my entire life.
Yeah.
And I've had similar experiences where I go to vote, and I probably shouldn't even be saying this out loud because it's so bad, but it's almost like either you leave it blank because you have no idea what they stand for, or you're kind of picking and choosing because you're making your best guess. And I feel like, one, that's not the right way to do that. And then two, the more I learn about politics and the more research I was doing on you guys, I feel like a lot of change happens at the local level. So, we can go in and we can vote for the president that we feel aligns most with our beliefs. But we don't live in a dictatorship. At the end of the day, the president doesn't put down a gavel and say, well, everything I said gets to happen now. We have those checks and balances. And I feel like until I was researching your site and starting to learn a little bit more about politics, I didn't realize how deep it goes on a local level because those names were just kind of like white noise to me on that ballot. Right. So can you talk with me a little bit about why that was like so important to you guys? And do you feel like this is making a difference to people that are using the website? I don't, it's probably too soon to tell from who's been elected if stuff is making a difference, but just from feedback that you've heard.
So one thing is we take the attitude of like, it's not that voters are dumb. Yeah. It's not that they're lazy. It's just too difficult to research every candidate on your ballot. It's too time consuming. So one, we're coming at it like from the view that so many people are guessing and leaving blanks.
Totally.
Yeah, you should not feel bad.
Yes. Okay, thank God. Because I was like, I don't even want to say this out loud because I feel so uneducated.
But the secret is that everyone does it. Political science professors.
But that's even scarier to hear.
Yeah, exactly. That was our reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is, right now, let's say criminal justice is something that's a lot. All those judges, I mean, most people that we talk to say, I vote for all women, or I just vote all yes or all no.
Yeah.
And here in Cook County, no judge has failed to be retained since 1990. They all just get reelected every single time. And that has a huge impact on our criminal justice system and some of the things right now.
What were you doing before Ballot Ready? Did you have day jobs?
Yes.
So I had a design thinking consultancy, and design thinking, for anyone who doesn't know, is a way of thinking about how to make products and websites useful for people.
Okay.
So it's a lot of qualitative interviews with the end user of your product or website. And we did projects on millennials and finance. We did a project for the White House, and we did work for schools.
Okay.
And then before that, I worked at nonprofits. I helped people find jobs, and I taught the GED. And when Ballot Ready was starting, I was also teaching coding, Ruby on Rails.
Oh, so you code?
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about that. Awesome. And then Aviva?
And so I was a teacher. I did Teach for America. And taught for 4 years here in Chicago. And then right when Ballot Ready was getting started up, I had just transitioned. I was starting grad school in public policy here.
Okay, great.
So I said to Alex, I have all this free time. I'm not a teacher anymore.
You're like, what could I possibly be doing? Would you like to start a company together?
I know.
Awesome. So then the second thing I want to ask you guys is, to me, having the idea for something and then making it a reality are two totally different things. And I'm just curious about how long it took you from having this idea of Ballot Ready and kind of that first version of Ballot Ready to where it is today. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think it's at every step it's been like, let's take this up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no like one moment where we were like, we're good now. we made it. We're set. Everything was just like, okay, let's make the site a little better in this way. Let's get support from this group. Let's, everything kind of made logical sense, and now we're here. Kind of.
Yeah, no, you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago booth has the Social New Venture Challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and so the application was due in February. So until then, we were thinking, what do we need to do? What do we need to prove to make it into the competition?
Okay.
And then once we made it into the competition, we said, okay, what do we have to do to win? And then we won, so then we had to do all
Oh my gosh! Congratulations.
We're like, okay, now we have this funding. Let's go out and build the site.
So then the last thing I want to talk with you both about before we go outside is that I don't know that you've ever experienced this, but something in a lot of the interviews that we've done before that comes up is that fear of, am I doing this right? Does anyone even care about what I'm doing? So if you did experience that, can you kind of talk about that a little bit and how you've moved past that, and if that feeling ever goes away, or if, when it does come back, how do you get over that?
I definitely woke up at like 3 a.m. last night. Are we? Is everything gonna be okay?
Yeah.
I definitely feel that I'm not worried that we're not making something useful. I have never had that worry.
Yeah.
I knew even before we put it out that people would find this useful,
mm-hmm.
and the response that we've gotten so far has been like tremendously amazing. So that's great. I know we're making something really powerful.
Okay.
I still feel anxious.
That feeling of
like, are we gonna screw up?
Mm-hmm.
Have we, do we have enough time?
I feel like being an entrepreneur is this duality of constant excitement because you have so much power and you're doing something so cool, which is coupled with constant fear because you want to get it done and you don't want to screw up. Yeah. So maybe you can't have one without the other.
I mean, maybe one kind of fuels the other, So then what has been the scariest moment for you while creating Ballot Ready, and how did you get over that? Or maybe it's something that you're still working through, and that's totally okay too.
I think it's the day before the Illinois primary, our site was down for an hour, and it wasn't our fault. It was our hosting service.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, come on, it's the day before the primary.
Yeah.
And, like, all these people were tweeting at us and on Facebook. And it only was an hour, but...
Yeah.
And we can see, like, how many people are on the site at a given time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, all these people, hundreds of people are being, like, screwed over right now, and they're going to think we're, like, not doing things right.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So then how did you, like, give yourself a pep talk and get out of that?
Mostly our developer.
Okay.
Being like,
Fix it.
I had a moment where I was like, I wonder if we should fire him right now. But then I was like, no, we can't do that because we need him to fix this. But, like, I think it's, like, letting yourself feel the anxiety and recognizing, okay, it's not that we should fire him, it's just that this is really scary, and it's really scary for him. It's really scary for everybody.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So just kind of, like, living in that fear and knowing that it passes.
Yeah.
And that eventually the excitement.
Yeah.
We did not know that it would pass.
We didn't know how long it
we
would
didn't
last,
know
right?
that it would pass.
But we always say that we want to feel all feelings at Ballot Ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And I think that was a moment where I really felt all of them.
All the feelings.
Can you talk a little bit, like, is that part of the culture within Ballot Ready?
Yeah. So the idea with feeling all feelings is, one, to feel the good feelings like joy and, like, elation. You also need to feel sad and anxious and angry. And being in a workplace where you can be open, like, it's important for us as leaders of the company to share that we feel negative feelings, so people, you know, when they're working on something and they have a problem, they can feel comfortable coming to us and being like, I feel anxious, I don't think this is going to work out, so we can, like, work around problems.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really rare within a company, too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times, not that perfection is expected by any means, but I think in a lot of companies, you're supposed to have kind of like your work face.
Yeah.
And, you know, you come in and you do your work and then you go home and that's it. And I think that that's one of the most, obviously everything we've talked about so far has been so eye-opening personally for me and so interesting. But I feel like that's such a huge takeaway, that you just want people to feel all the feelings and that we're all in this together and that none of these feelings are right or wrong. They're just feelings and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I actually feel like that's a great spot to kind of switch gears and then start talking about the world of tech and then a little bit about the world of politics. So if you guys are okay, it's super gorgeous outside. I've always thought that University of Chicago is super, super gorgeous, so I just want to show it off a bit.
Yeah.
Is it cool if we go outside and do a little bit of a walk and talk?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
awesome.
Well, once again, I'm going to follow you.
Right.
Your building, your rules. Well, I guess not technically your building, but... So when you guys were presenting, how did you figure out what the valuation of Ballot Ready was?
It's something that, we negotiate with our lead investor. So first of all, we had to find someone who would be willing to be a lead. And what that work involves is being willing to negotiate and set the terms. And then we did a scorecard about how we compare to other companies in these industries, in the tech industry, in the politics industry, and their valuations, our team, our traction so far. So it's like a lot of factors. Yeah. It's like very arbitrary. But you all have to, if you set your valuation too low, then you give away too much of your company. And investors are like, sometimes that turns them off. They're like, why are you giving away so much? But if you set it too high, then investors are like, well, I'm giving you all this money and I'm only going to get this much. So you have to find a valuation that people feel good about.
Okay. And when you're doing these investors, like, you can still be a private company and do these things, right?
Yeah.
And do you feel like...
You have to be.
Oh, you have to be. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know, like, Aviva, you talked about, like, just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and jumping in and just doing it. Like, this to me sounds, like, very overwhelming. Did you feel overwhelmed when you were doing this?
So one awesome thing, coming into this, I was, like, sort of nervous about having investors, like, who are these people who are now gonna like own part of my company, and like I don't know them, but it actually doesn't work that way. Usually it's like you build a relationship with investors, so like you know them by the time. Sometimes, like with that said, we have some investors who we talk to for like half an hour on the phone, and they're like, I'm in. But once to set the terms, to figure everything out, we worked with our lead investor, which is Merge Lane.
Okay.
And we have so many investors that we love and we know really well. And that's helpful because when we have problems, we can go to them and say, hey, I'm really nervous about this. We screwed up. What should we do? And they, it's just great to have that relationship.
The other thing I would say is when I came in, definitely all these words, Series A, seed, angel investor versus like VC, I really didn't know them, and I would go home and Google them, and I would read the Google thing, and I still wouldn't understand it. So I think having mentorship has also been really useful for us because we can admit when we don't know what something is, and we've been really lucky with this accelerator that they've helped us, guided us through this process, because it can be overwhelming, and I think sometimes, maybe especially for women, you're like, well, I just don't know, I'm missing something, I can't do this.
Something else I want to make sure I ask you before we go, because unfortunately we're winding down, even though I feel like I could probably sit here and talk to you for another few hours, is what is something that you wish that you knew when you started that you know now, like for both of you?
I think, honestly, if I had a better sense of the fundraising process, like, I feel like if I had to fundraise again, which will be the case, it's going to be, like, so easy and fun. And, like, I personally really like talking to investors because it's basically like a quiz on my favorite thing, which is Ballot Ready. And then, like, if it goes well, we get money. There's some technical things that, like, I now know, like all the terms and the valuation stuff that if I had known, I think I would have been a little more relaxed going into that.
I think figuring out how to run a company and, like, how to take full advantage of people and to invest them, I think we've just gotten better as we've gone along. The first time we had interns, they basically did no work for us, and that was totally our fault, because we weren't asking them enough and checking in and setting up structures. And now we have all these interns, but they're all amazing. And so I just think we just keep getting better as we go.
Awesome. And then if people want to learn more about Ballot Ready, where can they check it out? Where can they find out what their ballot is? Everything Ballot Ready. Where do they go?
Okay, first, ballotready.org. You can go there and you'll see your entire ballot and aggregated information on every candidate and ballot measure on there. We also are on social media, Twitter @BallotReady, Instagram @BallotReady, Facebook page. You can like us and follow us and get news on, like, when to register to vote, where to find your polling place, stuff like that.
Check us out and tell everyone you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are LadyBoss. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to share us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is LadyBoss Web Series. Facebook, we are under LadyBoss Web Series as well as Instagram, and we are also on Twitter. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And awesome. Thank you both so much.
This was so informative.
This was wonderful. Oh, my pleasure.